I haven't put out a new How Amiga Works video in a bit because I've been obsessed with this new app that I found called PNG to Amiga. If you look right here, it says 173 colors. But guess what? This is a 16 color screen. In the palette visualizer, you can see how it does it. Look at all the copper color changes down the screen. So this new PNG to Amiga desktop site allows you to put in any image and then lets you tweak how many colors that it changes per line. So this right here is from the beautiful 1996 PlayStation game called The Adventures of Lomax. The original screenshot I took had 256 colors. So right now it says 173, but you can also move Sonic around and the colors change a bit, the amount of color. So I've been inspired by all the videos I've done of classic games, especially Lionheart, when I discovered that the 16 color levels in Lionheart had up to 100 colors by using the copper. That really revolutionized the thought of what is possible on an Amiga 500. And then I did the video on Apano Sin, and that one has up to 300 colors on screen at once on the Amiga 500. So I was inquiring around, wondering whether it would be possible to make a tool to do this, and amazingly, someone responded on the English Amiga board about this PNG to Amiga site. And with the help of earok, I've been able to get it to work really well in the Scorpion engine. And I just put out a tutorial telling you how to do this in Scorpion engine. So I'll put a link to that in the description. Oh, and also the Sonic sprite here is 15 color hardware sprite. So the hardware sprite colors can go on top of the map colors. If I turn sprites off, you can see Sonic disappears. So with the copper visualizer on, you can see all the green color changes here, all the way down here and here. So obviously, if you were making a new Amiga game, you wouldn't do this graphic conversion and leave the main player character and some of the enemies on the screen because they would take away palette slots. But I just did that for this example because I think it looks really impressive. Imagine that Sonic was actually Lomax, so if I go over top of him here, here's your main character, so much more vibrant. So for Inceptional, one of my frequent commenters who loves the Super Nintendo, I thought I'd make an example using the Donkey Kong Country map, where it didn't have any enemies or the player character, just the map. So right here you can see it's 141 colors, but don't forget this is a 16 color screen. So here if I scroll, can go pretty far. I think it looks pretty good for 16 colors. So we can go all the way over here. And so quite a bit of the level right there to the end. So here's the palette visualizer for this one. And here's the copper visualizer showing all the color changes. So this is just color 0 down here. So the sky, but then you've got the individual slices over here. There's color 12 and color 2, color 11, color 12. I also made another example using the Turrican 2 AGA map. So here it's 70 colors, and as we scroll, it changes up to 75, 76. And so it fluctuates around there, 82, 65, and there's the end. Again, just to verify, it's only 4 bit planes, so bit plane 0, 1, 2, and 3, and that's everything. Just 16 colors. There's the palette visualizer and the copper visualizer. And then a few days ago, before I got the process perfected, this was my first attempt using one of the example pictures on PNG to Amiga. So as you can see, 92 colors plus the 15 of the Sonic sprite. And you can scroll a bit. So yeah, I thought this one looked quite nice. As I say, some of the colors were off, but it got pretty close. Here's the palette visualizer, and here's the copper visualizer for this one. And then finally, this is the last example one that I made, and this was also before it was perfected. So it's just a screenshot of Metal Slug from Moby Games that I put in there. But when you scroll, I also pasted a different screenshot right there, and you can scroll over to it. You can see that it's about 62 colors, 61, just around that range for everything. There's the palette visualizer. So with the copper visualizer, you can see that with this one, I was just doing one color change per line. So this is 0, 0, so it doesn't change. But then this line here, there's color 12, color 1, color 3. So on PNG to Amiga, you can choose how many slices it does per line. So how many color changes it makes every line. So this is just one per line, so it's the most simple. That was the way that Lionheart did it. And Lionheart was able to keep 50 frames per second and have lots of action. So I thought that might be the sweet spot, but you can change up to 15 colors per line if you want. I think I maxed out the first one I showed you, the Lomax. So that one changed as many as was possible. So what are the limitations? The biggest one right now in Scorpion is that you can only do horizontal scrolling levels. Where Lionheart really opened things up was the fact that you can go up and down and it has dynamic copper lists and follows you. So you can change what colors are sliced when you go higher. So you're not limited to say just one 320 by 240 screen, and all copper changes are going to be static in that area for the entire level. So say your character was able to jump up here and you were able to go up higher, then from here and above you could have a new copper list, and then when you were up higher you could have different colors and you wouldn't be restricted. So you could have like hundreds and hundreds of colors in the level itself, but then on each area, say 60 to 100 or so. The other limitation is enemies. So take this enemy, for example. Right now, he's just colored the way he is because he's at this vertical position. So with PNG to Amiga, there's ways to lock certain colors. So say you could lock this one, this one, this one, then this would be solid color, this would be solid, that would be solid. And then there's also a solid one here, here, and here, 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 here. So if you're going to make an enemy, so imagine Sonic is a Bob and not a sprite, and he's an enemy. If we lock these three colors and we have the other ones that aren't changing here, then we'd have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8 colors to draw the enemy in. But if you had purple in him, say, then he can't go higher than here, or he changed to this darker purple. So essentially you'd have to draw your map knowing where enemies are, just like Lionheart did, and use the colors that are available in that area if they're going horizontal or if they're going vertical. So I think the ideal way to use the PNG to Amiga tool is to draw original bitmap levels, keeping in mind where enemies are, having your player as a hardware sprite so you don't have to worry about him changing colors. That's what they did again in Lionheart. So if you drew, say, a big whole level in like 100 colors, keeping the splits in mind and keeping the limitations in mind, then I think you could really create something amazing. And it sort of opens up so many possibilities, especially if you can move vertically. So if there's any ASM or C coders out there that want to try this app and try with dynamic copper lists and everything, I'd love to see it. The copper is so powerful, and it really is the quintessential part of the Amiga and what makes it special and unique. So hopefully this video might inspire someone to try it on their own. I'm also thinking of contacting the PNG to Amiga author and see what his thoughts are on adding dynamic copper lists and how feasible that would be for like a general purpose tool. So please let me know all your thoughts on this. It's got me really excited. And if nothing else, I at least got to see the Adventures of Lomax on an Amiga screen. So thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and comment. I always appreciate it. Till next time, take care.